Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our weekly live free class where we talk about American English pronunciation. I take your questions, help you with difficult words, and we look at different topics and resources for American accent training. If you're new to class, welcome. We're happy to have you here, and welcome back to those of you who've been coming to class for a while. Just to let you know, you can ask your questions at any time by typing them in the chat, and I will go through and be looking at those and answering them as we go along. Today, I'd like to talk about some of the requests that have come in this week, both here on the YouTube channel and on Facebook, on the Facebook page for speech modification, as well as in the comments in the free practice materials on speechmodification.com. So I do go back and I read all of your comments. I answer all of the questions that I can. So I appreciate the effort that you all make to follow up with me and find out where you can get resources. I have many, many videos, as you know, and many lessons already that will help you. And if you're asking me something new that I haven't thought about, I like that too, because it gives me a good idea for topics to cover in class and new videos to create. Some upcoming topics that I'm going to be looking at, both in the lessons on my website and here in this class, are ways to think about communicating in our new strange new world. Many of you are now working from home, you're telecommuting, you're having to do video classes, video conferences, and there's the technology to get used to, but there's also how do we communicate in this new way. And so there's just some things to watch out for and some good, useful tips that I'd like to share with you. So be watching for those and share with me your ideas for that as well. Again, I also just want to say thank you to all the support and the kind messages that you have sent my way. It's really a challenging time. I'm here in Seattle and I'm connecting with you all around the world. I know many of you are in other countries, you're in various places in the US, and we're all struggling with how to adapt to changes, how to stay healthy and safe, and how to connect with others, how to reach out and communicate. And I'm trying to look at it as an opportunity to do some things that I want to do for myself anyway, but now it's, I have perspective on what's happening in life and what's important. And so I hope that you're coming to class as part of that for yourself as well, that this is an opportunity to do some learning, to do some personal growth and change, and to take care of yourself and do things that you want to do. So I'll show you some ideas I have for that as well, including some of my free lessons and online courses. Good morning to everyone. Yes, and good afternoon. It is here, 12 o'clock here on the West Coast. And yes, I'm doing okay considering. It is very different and very challenging here right now, and I'm sure it is for you as well. So let's talk about American English pronunciation, take our mind off things for a little while. And as I said, feel free to ask your questions at any time. One of the topics I want to talk about today that we started last week is talking about what I like to call hidden sounds. So one of the issues that we run into when we're working on speaking in English, working on American English pronunciation, is that the spelling of English does not really match the sounds in English. We don't have one sound and one letter, and we can't always look at a word and know how it should be pronounced based on how it's spelled. And in fact, spelling sometimes makes it worse for us. For example, I always like to use this example. The word say has vowel A, and most people are pronouncing this word correctly when they're speaking English. Now, your accent may have you saying it more with just one vowel, because in your language you may have this A vowel. And in English, we have a diphthong here. That means two vowels that we glide from one to the other. They're kind of squished together. And in this word, we spell it with an A and a Y, A. So it may be easier for you to hold that diphthong and have both those sounds in it, A. So that the only issue is that you may be saying that a little bit too short, like say. But where we run into trouble is in a word like this word. So I say, and he says, I often will hear this word pronounced more as says or says. So there's two things in this word says. Number one, even though the spelling say and says has the same letters, we don't have the A vowel in the word says. We have the eh vowel. I like to call that one the red tent vowel. And that vowel is usually spelled with letter E. So if I were to write this word with an E, we might have more success using that lax eh vowel says. And then secondly, I have the letter S, which I would think should sound like S. And in this word, it sounds like Z. In fact, in most cases, at the end of a word, when we have the letter S or the letters SE, they usually will say Z. Yes, sometimes they say S, like in the word yes or in the word us, but most of the time, the S letter says the Z sound. So here, this is how I would write this if I had one letter for one sound, and this said s, z, says. I don't have that, but what we do have is what is called the IPA, or the International Phonetic Alphabet. So part of what we do in our classes is we look at how can I use IPA to help me with my pronunciation. I don't think you have to learn all of the symbols and all of the sounds in the IPA to be able to improve your pronunciation. But in some cases, knowing, for example, that this Z symbol is the letter Z, but it's also in IPA the sound Z. And that just really helps me when I look up a word in the dictionary. I can know, should I be saying an S or a Z sound? So the S sound looks like that. And also vowel sounds. So if I know that this vowel sound says A and this vowel sound says eh, and even better if I know that eh is in the words red tent, so I have an anchor point or have a good concept in my mind of how the eh should sound versus how the A should sound. My anchor for A is gray day. Then I can use that to help me with pronunciation for some of these, what I call hidden sounds or unexpected sounds in spelling. So I got a little off topic from hidden sounds by just talking about sounds and spelling, but that's something we talk about often in this class because many times you might be pronouncing a word incorrectly, not because you have an accent error pattern on the word, but because the spelling is misleading. So I have, there's a question here, which is it unacceptable to pronounce the L in calm, or is calm an alternative? So calm. I think we won't really hear your L if you're trying to say calm. And so I think it's probably okay. I definitely would be careful not to say calm, with like too pronounced of an L. Calm. Yeah, I wonder. I think I may actually be, that L may be really affecting how I say this vowel ah. Call that one vowel ah. So calm. Yeah, I think I actually do have a bit of an L in there when I'm saying calm. It is technically silent. It is just calm. Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that the L, we can't really hear it, but it really influences how we say that letter A, how we pronounce that vowel. And so the difference between caw and calm is that the L does influence that vowel. So that wasn't a super clear answer, sorry, but I think you can pronounce it as long as you're not trying too hard to make a distinctive L sound there. We really shouldn't be hearing calm with a lot of L. Hi, Pen. Nice to see you live. Nice to see you too. Thank you for your comment. Okay, so hidden sounds. And again, do feel free to ask your questions at any time. I'm happy to answer them. That's the point of this class. So we talked about last week the hidden J sound. The IPA symbol for that sound is this. It sounds like J. And we spell it with J in words like job or jump. And we spell it with G in words like gentle or gender, or edge at the ends of words, a DG. But we also hide it, not intentionally, but it is also hidden in some words like educate or gradual, where we may not realize that these sounds, the j sound, is there even though we only have a D and a U. Now, I am talking about American English here. In British English, they do say that with a D and a U, which is probably why it's spelled that way. They say educate, educate, and we say educate. And so, again, I like to rewrite educate, the word, in a way that helps highlight that that J sound is there. When I see this word, I'm more likely to pronounce it correctly because I don't have any stored pronunciation in my brain for that. When I see this word, it might be hard for me to put that J sound in because my brain is used to seeing that word and pronouncing it the way I've always pronounced it. So rewriting the words with a spelling that makes more sense and matches those hidden sounds a little better is one technique you can use to help you with that. I do have a lesson about the J sounds on speechmodification.com where you can find the words where the J is hidden in the middle and the spellings for that. And I'd like to look at another hidden sound today, which is the SH sound. I call it the SH sound because we most often spell it with the letters SH, like in she or show. But I also spell the SH sound with the S letter, like in sure. So here's my letters, SH and S. The symbol for this sound is like a big kind of stretched out S, big uppercase S. So I can spell it with SH, I can spell it with S, like in sure or insurance. And for these, I might write out sure like that. Or even sure. This is a case where the vowels, it's the vowel in this word, and the vowels might not be clear to me. Now, you can also pronounce sure, more like sure, with an oo, sure. But most Americans in connected speech, in quick speech, will say sure without too much of an oo sound. Or I might like to write insurance with the SH so that I'm aware and pronouncing that correctly. Many of you are pronouncing the letters S as SH appropriately where you should. But you may also not realize some of the other spellings of this SH sound. So for example, another spelling we can have is the TI spelling, and that's most common in words like shun. So for example, communication, pronunciation. We have, I'm going to respell this whole word and the other sounds in it as well. So this one is going to sound like shun, pronunciation. And we have the stress here, pronunciation. And so we hold that one longer. And so because this pronunciation doesn't have first syllable stress, that letter O is actually an So we have nun, C, A, shun. I'm going to cross that one out, pronunciation. I point this out, I'm getting sidetracked today, but I do want to point out that often I will hear people say pronunciation rather than pronunciation. And I think it's because we have the word pronounce, where we say the ow vowel, pronounce. But in pronunciation, we lose that O, and we just want to make sure we just have a none, pronunciation. Obviously, people are, this isn't a super commonly used word. I hear it more because people want to talk to me about their pronunciation. And so watching out for the spelling and that the sounds are pronunciation rather than pronunciation. And lastly, my board's getting very cluttered here. I can pronounce the SH sound, or I can spell it with the C letter CI. So for example, in the word appreciate, I have she. It's actually she, it, appreciate, A-T-E, appreciate. I can respell it, rewrite it with the S-H-E, and I'll see that there's that S-H, hidden S-H sound. So here's some of the letters that can say the sh, S-H sound. And so that's another good one to watch out for. And I have a video about S, the letter S, and how sometimes it says S and sometimes it says SH. So you can find that on the channel page as well as on speechmodification.com on the free practice site. I'll show you how to look things up and check out those resources in just a moment. And probably some of your questions I see that have come in will allow me to demonstrate that, because I'll be showing you where I have the answers to your questions. So thank you for bearing with me while I was talking, and now I'm going to take a check in on everyone's questions. So we have question. We have someone who tells us, I can say girl or Carl easily, but when saying girly or darling, I end up getting a yodeling sound. I don't understand how to get the dark L or bright L correctly. So yes, let's talk about girl and girly. You make a very good point. There's two different L sounds there. So you've told us you can say girl correctly. That has my dark L. Now I do have a video about pronouncing girl. So for those of you who struggle with this word, which is many people, I break it down and I have you work on saying the grr sound, grr, and then an ul, a dark L. So that has my tongue, the back of my tongue staying down and having this schwa, this sound before it, girl. And this dark L is challenging for a lot of people. And what they tend to do is use more of a front L. So it might sound more like girl, girl, or they have trouble because there's an R and an L together. That is very challenging. In the word girly, where that word breaks between the syllables is actually between the R and the L. So here I have girl, and I have to move into that dark L. But in girly, girly, that L becomes the front L because it's the start of the syllable lee. So it's just like if I were to say the word lee or leaf or leave. My whole tongue can lift when I say lee or leave. The most important thing is that my tongue is lifting behind my teeth. It's touching up. You can feel this by trying to say T and then lee, or knee and then lee. You'll feel where your tongue touches up. T, lee, knee, lee. And you can feel your tongue is touching behind your teeth. When I say lee, my whole tongue can lift and the top and the tip of it touches behind the teeth. Versus when I say girl, the tip is still touching in this T and knee part, but the back of my tongue is staying down so that I can get this sound in. So girly, I would just build that word from doing the lee part and the gur part. Thinking of the gur as my tongue staying back and tight from the G to the R, gur, and then lee. And then just begin to blend those words and bring them together more and more. So those two parts of the word, that is, girly, 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 girly. That will also help you with a challenging word, early, early, which we also find difficult because we're moving from that back tight to the front lee. I hope that helps you with that transition and understanding the difference between the two L's. I do have a lot of videos and lessons for American L. So let me just show you briefly another resource that you might find helpful. So when you're on speechmodification.com, if you come up here to the free practice and you go to online practice free trial, you can search in the search box for your word or your sound that you're looking for. So for example, if I type in girl, all of the lessons and activities that are related to girl will be there. So we have just the simple basic lesson, how to pronounce girl. It has a video and some additional help. So it says here, how to find more help for L at the ends of words, we can look at this lesson about the American L, which is what I wanted to show you. Sorry, it's being a little bit slow. So another way to find it would be to type in here, and I could type in just the letter L, the sound L, and I'll see the lessons that come up for that. So you can look at additional words. Here's a lesson about showing you dark L and light L, and letting you know which words do which so that you can start to break down and practice. My lessons and my videos focus on the most frequently used words in English. So yes, you might have to say lizard or lion or something like that, but you're more likely to be saying girl and leave and let. These frequently used words with L are the important ones to practice because about 80% of your speech is made up of these little words. And so if you're practicing those words and the combinations of those words, it has a big effect on your overall pronunciation and accent. And of course, I know you turn to me also for help with less common words, but that are really challenging to pronounce. For example, words like rural or girl or world. These are tough even for Americans to say. And so I do have videos and lessons to help you with those as well. You want to be able to say anything you want clearly and easily and be well understood by others. So that's my goal for you and my strategy when creating lessons. Okay. So we have another comment question. I've noticed some people put a lot of emphasis on the H in words like why, whether, or white. For example, white becomes something like white, if that makes sense. Is this standard? No, it's not. Most people will pronounce these WH words like Y and white just as a W sound rather than white. This WH comes from the fact that in the past, words with WH used to be pronounced with a H. And so, for example, we used to say, rather than which and which being the same pronunciation, they're both now currently which. They used to be which and which. So this WH spelling used to be a h and a w like that in IPA. So it would have been like that, which. And that has dropped out, probably because it's a little bit hard to do. There's maybe one word, which I can't think of off the top of my head, that still does this combination, but it's not necessary to do, and it's not necessarily incorrect. I mean, it might not sound that strange if I say which one rather than which one. So if it's easier for you, you can do that, but the correct and current pronunciation for WH words is just the W sound. Again, that's a great example of hidden sounds where it's not exactly hidden, but knowing the difference between thinking that these two might need to be pronounced differently, we might be trying to do something different and creating a problem that we don't need when they have actually the same pronunciation. Great point. Thank you for bringing that up. We have another question. Are there rules for when to use schwa sounds instead of vowel sounds in spelling, like in words cement, telephone? Not rules per se, but you're correct that in longer words, we often have the schwa sound, in the unstressed syllables. So where you'll see rules for this and patterns for this are examples. For example, let's just take a word with PRO. We have the word produce. We have the stress on the first syllable, produce. And so we have the actual O in that syllable. Versus in the word promote, I don't have an O. I'm not saying promote. This is an unstressed syllable. The stress is on mote, and the PRO says pr. So instead of promote, I have promote with that vowel schwa. So the general pattern is if it's an unstressed syllable, then oftentimes the vowel letter, won't be a clear vowel. Will be an unstressed vowel. I also like the example of the word banana, where my stress is on the middle syllable. That's the syllable I hold longer, banana. And that's the only one that has the the clear vowel. The others are a vowel schwa, so it sounds like ba, na, na. Short, long, short. So that short reduced comes in a lot of reduced syllables. It's not there in every single reduced syllable and every longer word. You can get some help for knowing where to go and how to read that by looking these words up in the dictionary. And I would recommend looking on my channel page for my videos about intonation and syllable stress. So you can either use the search tool on the channel page or on the website, or you can go here to my intonation playlist. So American Intonation, you'll see quite a few videos about syllable stress, and it'll teach you how to look up words and how to know where to find those vowel schwas that you're talking about. So great ideas. Your specific words, cement and telephone, let me just show you how to look something like that up in the dictionary. So I like the Oxford Learner's Dictionary, and you can use any dictionary, just get used to what symbols they use. I like Oxford Learners because it uses IPA, which is what I use on my website as well. And so then it's consistent, one sound, one spelling. And the IPA is also nice because it's international. So you can look up these same sounds in your native language and see where your native language and American English are the same and different for spelling and sounds. So if I'm on the dictionary, let's just look up cement first. Cement. So my guess is that the first syllable is actually in that one probably an I vowel. Yes. So I see here cement. We have
cement,
the I sound, and then we have the vowel in the clear syllable. So they show us the syllable stress with this little line before the stress syllable. So ment is long and si is short. If I said it like cement with a vowel schwa there, doesn't make much difference between the I and the Usually if it's spelled with the letter E, it will be the reduced vowel I rather than the reduced vowel but again, it doesn't make too much difference between the pronunciation. Your other word was telephone. I also like using the online dictionary because I can listen to it, I can hear the syllable stress, and I can get used to saying that clear vowel where I need it and the unstressed vowel where I don't. So telephone, again, there's an I in that one. Here's my stress on the first syllable, telephone. And if I said telephone instead of telephone, most people, no one's really going to hear the difference there. The most important thing is that the stress syllable is long, and the phone are short and reduced. Now, telephone has a clear vowel on the O for phone. It's still short and it's not stressed, but again, it's a little bit tricky. There aren't really consistent rules for where to know where that schwa sound comes up. So looking at, first and foremost, having the correct syllable stress and using the clear vowel on the stress syllable, that's most important. Then secondly, try to start to learn where those reduced schwa sounds are using the dictionary, using the resources on my website and on my channel page. I have a great deal of words sorted for you already by which syllable gets the stress, so you can use that to begin your practice. Great question. Thank you. That's another kind of hidden sound. We have these sounds everywhere and spelled with lots of different vowel letters, even though they don't have those vowel sounds. Great. Okay, so next question. Do I distinguish the words caller and collar, or are they homophones? Okay, so she's asking about caller and collar. Collar. Yes, I do. But they're very, very close. So collar, I use vowel ah. I would call that this. Collar. And collar, I use vowel ah. I would call that collar. But for collar, because of the L, I'm not really going so open with the ah. These two vowels, ah versus ah, in some places in the US, they have merged and there's only one sound, and people won't be able to tell you the difference. So some places, yes, those are homophones. For me, having grown up in the Midwest, I hear two different vowels, caller and collar. Um, but again, not super important to make a very clear distinction there because other places in the Midwest, including where I am now, Seattle, they don't really make much of a distinction there. That's a great question. And I like those words. Those are challenging to say and make distinct, but it is a good way to identify and pay attention to the ah, which is rounded, versus the ah, which is more open. Phonetic spelling for words like for, fort, and for has an ah sound, but people say it like o instead. Yes, so good point. If you look up for or fort in the dictionary, you'll see that they may write it like this. And I consider that to be pronounced as an or for most people. People are not saying far, far. So that is one flaw with using the dictionary, is that they will have certain representations for sounds that don't always match sound for sound. So especially with the R, different dictionaries will mark this differently. I like using this for the sound of and then this for or, this for air, where I have the two parts of the diphthong broken up. But that's not how the dictionary does it. And so you have to just get used to whichever dictionary you're using, what sound are they referring to? So all of these words have the or, and that's made with a rounded O and going into the R. I think probably they're showing that it's not because I'm going to close to the or, it is a little bit like at the beginning where or actually I don't get that at all. I don't know why they do that. I disagree with it. So you're going to find different interpretations of sounds, and part of transcribing words, which means writing them out in symbols, is subjective. It depends on people's opinions. Just learn. What I would say is learn how it should sound and how you can make it, and then rewriting it in a way that makes sense to your brain. So putting up with the fact that there are some challenges like that in the dictionary. Very good point. Thank you for bringing that up. And let's see. Muhammad says, what is the most used words with weak forms? Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you mean. So weak form, you could be talking about weaker syllables or weak forms of verbs. See if you can ask me another way so I know better what you're trying to ask, and I'll think about what you might mean and get back to you on that one. So we have a question about the word and what pronunciation to say. Some people pronounce it like and, kind of an A sound. And I pronounce it as and with the black cat vowel, the a vowel. And is sounds a little southern to me, or a little bit nasal, like and. So I would say this one is probably more neutral, but what you hear around you is the way people in your area speak. And sometimes it's nice to speak the same way as people around you. So you can kind of make your choice when there are, different varieties of how things are pronounced. If you're saying and, it may sound a little bit accented, like a regional accent, depending on where you are. So if you're going to go for the kind of most standard neutral sound, I would probably go for the and. I also want to point out that very often, unless I'm saying this word by itself, she and I, we very often will reduce that. So when I'm saying she and I, or cats and dogs, I really don't say and. I don't say cats and dogs. I say it more like cats, instead of saying and with a clear vowel at all, cats and dogs, I'm going to say it actually more like cats and dogs, Katzen. So I'm linking here. My Z goes right into my N sound. If there is a little vowel, I'd say it's almost the red tent vowel, cats and dogs. So getting used to practicing words like and in connected speech. And see, so when I'm saying that word by itself, and that's when I'm using that pronunciation. When I'm saying you should do this and that, I'm really reducing that down to kind of just an N sound. And I definitely recommend practicing that way because it's going to help your speech sound more fluent and natural overall. If you're going to be practicing on words anyway, you might as well learn how they tend to get used in connected speech. And it's formal and professional to use these reductions and these links. If something is casual or informal, I'll always tell you. But if I'm making a recommendation like that, it's just about speech fluency and you're still speaking correct, professional, formal English. You're just connecting and reducing the way Americans do in linked speech. Thank you for the question. We have a question. Why did you decide to give free lessons apart from your online courses? I really feel that there is a lot of free stuff out there that's not very good. There's a lot of people who are looking for answers, who are looking for help, and it's confusing. You go and you search on YouTube or you search on Google and you're looking for how to pronounce something, and you're going to see 10 different answers. So yes, maybe I'm not always 100% accurate and people may disagree with my pronunciation, but in my opinion, you should be able to find good, accurate information and good resources, regardless if you have money to be able to afford American accent training or even online courses. My online courses, I also keep those very, very inexpensive. They're less than $5 a month because I want people to be able to access good information, things that will really help them, people who are really looking to improve. I do feel it's part of our responsibility as people, as humans, to reach out and support one another. And this is one way that I can do that. And I enjoy it. As I said, when people are asking me questions, it really helps me as well because I then know what types of questions are useful that I can include in my online courses, that I can use to help my paying one-to-one clients and my group classes that I teach. So it benefits me as well as I hope it benefits you that I offer free classes. It's just something that I think is important for everyone to do to provide what they can. I used to be a public school educator, and I always felt that that was something that it was a job and it was paid, but it was also volunteering in a way, giving back to community, giving back to society. So that's why I do it. And also because it's fun for me. And I appreciate all of you who come to class and who ask me questions. So thank you for that. That does bring up a point. I wanted to show you that if you are like me, like I said at the beginning of class, stuck at home and looking for ways to work and improve, you can go to speechmodification.com and start working your way through some of the free lessons. A great place to do that. We have 2 different challenges, the 30-day accent challenge and the 5x5 live challenge. And you could try each one and see. 5x5 is 5 minutes a day, and it's kind of oriented to people who have some familiarity and experience with accent training already. 30-day is meant to kind of build up from the beginning. And if you want to take it even further, I would recommend going to my courses page and checking out the online courses. So they're all free for the first 2 weeks to try it out. And a great starting course is my 6-week course, and you can check that out here. You can get your free preview. You can read people's reviews, what they've said about it, and you can see all of the information that's covered in the course. So you can kind of check out the lessons and see if you think online learning works well for you. If these video classes work well for you, this might work for you as well. And I also offer group classes here in the Seattle area. Right now, those are going to be put on hold because we're not leaving our houses. We're not meeting with groups. We're all social distancing. But my thought and my plan is that rather than stopping those classes altogether, I'm thinking about putting that together as an online course. There's a lot of great resources now for meeting as a group online, and I can teach the same material to you if you come to an online class. The advantage there is that you don't have to be in Seattle to join that class. You just have to be available at the time that the class is offered. So look for that coming soon, and you can check that out and the other things that I offer here on my store page on speechmodification.com. I know some of you who are in other places in the world and in the US have expressed an interest in the group classes. And again, I like to keep those somewhat inexpensive so people can get the benefit of taking the time to work through a class and getting help and feedback without the cost of working one-on-one. And of course, I do also offer individualized training. So I work with people, I work with corporate groups to help them improve their communication and accent. So anyway, that's enough of an ad for now. Thank you so much for being a part of class today. We'll meet again next Friday at 12 o'clock Seattle time. If you're watching this broadcast not live, please feel free to put your questions in the comments and I'll go back and answer those, let you know where you can find resources and get help for your questions. Take care, everyone out there, and keep your heads up. We're going to get through this time, and especially if we are kind and supporting to one another. So thank you so much for all of your kindness. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound American, you can do it. speechmodification.com.